This video is brought to you by my supporters on Patreon. Hi guys, I'm here with the video showing you how I made my Kanna cosplay. To start off, I am patterning or creating a pattern for the top by using this oversized shirt I had lying around and tracing around that. So this gave me my base shape. Now what I'm doing is drawing in where I'm going to have seam lines at, cutting that out, and then transferring that back onto paper again and making alterations since I want the bottom of this top that she has to flare out more than the t-shirt flares out. I'm also adding seam allowance and then adding in the frilly bit at the bottom of the shirt as I'm redrawing the new pattern, as you can see here. To create the frilly bit at the bottom of the shirt, I drew out one half circle shape on a piece of paper and then just trace that over and over so that everything is perfectly even. I'm not really sure how to explain how to, I guess, draw up your own pattern without modding one that already exists or having a garment that is like exactly what you're looking for. I've just been sewing and doing it for so long, it's like second nature at this point. So if you are having trouble with this, or if you just kind of want to skip this step, these patterns are available on my store Envy. To create the skirt, I'm taking this dress I sewed a while ago but lost the original pattern to, and using that as a reference because I really like the skirt section on this dress. Then I am dividing that up and drawing in the frilly bits and the two different layers, since her skirt does have a top layer and a bottom layer to it that are different lengths. As you can see here, I'm also adding seam allowance. After that, take all those patterns, transfer them onto fabric, pin it together, and we can begin sewing. I start off by sewing all of the panels of the shirt together first, besides the back seam. I don't sew the back seam just yet. Then I sew the sleeve pieces together, the cuff pieces together, and attach the cuff to the sleeve. So here I am cutting out a 3-inch strip, 3-inch wide strip, and this is going to become the white center of her shirt and the ruffles on the side. So you're going to cut out a really long strip and probably a couple of them. So real quick in this clip, I'm just sewing the skirts together. I'm attaching the top section of the skirt to the bottom section of the skirt and then sewing it closed. For the 2 strips that are going to become the ruffles on the shirt, I am folding over one edge so that it's no longer a raw edge and instead a double folded, nice looking clean edge, sewing that down, and then I will move on to attaching everything to the shirt. Alright, so now I'm attaching the white section to the shirt itself. Here I am folding over the raw edge of the strip that is lying down the center, and then slipping the strip that is becoming ruffled underneath that, ruffling it as I go, pinning that down, and I'm going to repeat that for the other side and then sew it in place. Once the white strip and ruffles are attached, go ahead and sew up the back of the shirt and attach the sleeves as well. After that, I'm moving on to this collar real fast, just cutting out this pattern I made, sewing over the raw edges, and then I will attach that to the collar of the shirt and then double fold over all the raw edges of the dress or shirt, not dress, shirt, and make sure everything is just nice and clean looking. I also attach these buttons down the center of the shirt. So for her stockings, I bought a white pair of thigh-high socks and some lace, and I'm just hand sewing that on. This lace is not elastic, so I have to make sure the sock is stretched to the point that it will sit on my thigh so that it doesn't turn out too small and I'm unable to get the sock up because the lace won't stretch. This means I am sewing the lace on and pinning it on while I am wearing it. So if you're doing this, be extremely careful not to poke yourself. I kind of pull the sock slightly away from myself as I'm sewing that specific section and so on. If you feel you are too clumsy or too afraid to do this because you just don't want to stab yourself a lot or even risk it, go ahead and try and find some elastic, stretchy lace and you should be good to just sew it on without having to wear it while you're doing so. Going back to the skirt, I am creating a waistband. The waistband is about 3 inches thick. So I'm just going along and cutting this long strip that I will double fold over, attach to the skirt. Make sure that the seam is on the inside and not the outside or the front nice side where everything's supposed to look clean. And before sewing that closed, I will slip through some elastic, which you will see in a couple seconds here, or more than that probably, but soon. Once the waistband is sewn on, I am sticking elastic through. To help with this, attach a safety pin to the end of the elastic. It just makes it easier to pull it through, and make sure to pin the elastic at the end once you get that through, so that you don't end up just pulling the entire thing through and then having to restring it because you forgot to pin it. And then sew that in place and sew the elastic band closed. Now we're moving on to the final part of her costume, and that is her cape or cloak thing that she wears. And to create the pattern for that, I just drew up a basic cape shape and then broke it up into sections because it goes white, pink, white. And the pink strip has this black pattern on it. So I created a template on a piece of paper, attached some tape onto the back of it, and stuck that onto the fabric. Used acrylic paint, but fabric paint is definitely the better option, and kind of just dabbed the paint onto it to make sure that it wasn't going to smudge under the stencil or anything. I have an entire video on fabric paint and stenciling stuff onto shirts if you need more specific details. The only thing I did that I'm going to note about painting this on is I did line up the template with the previous design because the lines do connect with each other on the sides, as you can see if you look here or look at her design. So I made sure to do that as I was painting on this design, and then I went ahead and touched up anywhere that needed to be touched up afterwards. Once all of that is dry, I go ahead and sew together all of the white sections because there's like a front section and a back section. So I attach all those together, and then I create the ruffle part because the pink has some ruffles along the bottom. So I'm cutting out this 2-inch wide strip of fabric, really long strip of fabric, and ruffling that as I go along. As you can see, it's been ruffled in this clip already, and attached the white pieces to the pink section, and then just sewed all of that down. Sewn together, I go ahead and fold over the raw edges, double fold it so that it has this nice clean edge, sew that down, and then I will also be attaching wool along the neckline. It's fake wool. I attached that along the neckline though for the big puffy thing she's got going on there. Here is where I am attaching the wool. I'm just pinning it along the neckline, and then I will sew that down. I leave some excess at the front so that I can pull it over and attach some snaps to close it so that, I don't know, it just feels more like a cloak thing and has a way to close the neckline without making it like impossible to get on, because doesn't open up. As you will see in a bit here, I did not make it so that I can unstring this thing. Here is the ribbon section. I'm attaching black ribbon down the center of the cloak, and I'm sewing that in place. So this does not fully open, which is why I needed to make sure the neck piece did open enough so that I can slip it over my head and not have it like be too tight. But I still needed it to sit not super tight around my neck, but you know, comfy around there. And that is it for this costume. I bought the horns off of eBay as well as her hair accessories, and then I made the tail using wire and some leftover wool fabric. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Check out my future videos, or I guess stay tuned for those, and check out my older videos. Yeah, that makes much more sense. Thanks for watching and have a lovely day. Bye!